Welcome to Choice Factor, Breakthrough to Success. Here's Brian.
Well, good afternoon. Good morning first. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world and whatever time you get to watch and listen to this. Thank you very much for joining us on Choice Factor, Breakthrough to Success. As you know, if you've been watching these for a while, that everything I do is based on the concepts of choice theory in relationships, at work, in school, and at home. And some of the things that we talk about so many times, there's been a real convergence in my life with the spiritual aspects and understanding grace and the expansion of that, plus this choice theory, new psychology of personal freedom. And they match. They're very parallel in my mind. I try to communicate that. But I want to talk to you about what Dr. William Glasser, the founder, the creator of all this, called the 10 axioms of choice theory. You know, an axiom is kind of an accepted basis, maybe an unprovable truth that we base our argument, base our concepts on. So there are 10 axioms of choice theory that we'll go through. We'll just do one at a time. I'll go ahead and read all of them for you now so you can kind of understand where we're going. Axiom number 1 is that the only person whose behavior we can control is our own. Number 2 is all we can give or get from other people is information. How we deal with that information is our choice or their choice. And number 3, all long-lasting psychological problems are relationship problems. Number 4, the problem relationship is always part of our present life. And what happened in the past is number 5. What happened in the past that was painful has a great deal to do with what we are today, but revisiting that painful past can contribute little or nothing to what we need to do now. Improve an important present relationship. Well, I'm so tempted to talk about these as we go through, but I'm going to break it down so we can do each one. Maybe 2 at a time. Just kind of depends on how much gas I've got in the tank. Number 6, we're driven by 5 genetic needs: survival, love, and belonging, power, freedom, and fun. Number 7, we can satisfy those needs only by satisfying a picture or pictures in our quality world. Number 8, all we can do from birth to death is behave. Number 9, all total behavior is designated by verbs, usually infinitive or gerunds, and named by the component that is most recognizable. And number 10, all total behavior is chosen, but we have direct control over only the acting and thinking components. And we'll get into all of those as we go through, but I've written some notes down, and I want to cover this as we talk about how we look at people differently because we understand these concepts. And the one we want to talk about today is that first one. Trying to get it to work right. That axiom of choice theory, the only person whose behavior we can control is our own. Sometimes, because I used to teach English, I have a little trouble with that sentence, but there's only one person we have control over. So much of our lives we spend worrying about things we can't control and regretting things that we haven't controlled in the past. So think about the world around you, all the things that are going on, and what you don't have control over. Just find that out, take a few minutes to figure out what that is, and then leave those things alone. If you're in a grace state of mind, like we talk about on the Grace Awakening Network, those are not in our hands. They're in somebody else's hands, and all we can control is our response to it. Think about the things like your attitude, your own actions, what you think about, what you focus on, the things that you can control. And the more we separate those two categories, the more effective our lives can become, I believe. So, but my focus has always been in leadership, or could be in schools from the past when I worked with at-risk high school kids, or in the past few years, probably 10 years now, working in leadership with using these choice theory concepts to help leaders do their job better and be more effective. And so I've got a few things that I used to. It's not a sermon, so it's not 3 points in a prayer, and a poem maybe. But we do have 7 things about this that I'd like for you to think about for leaders to do. And we'll throw these up on the screen too. But first of all, in the workplace, leaders can use these principles to enhance and improve the environment and performance by focusing on their own actions, behaviors, and leadership style. The leader creates the environment. And after about 6 months in place, you can tell what a leader's like just by being in their organization, being in the room that they're in charge of, things like that. So I'd like for you to think about that some as we go through. Maybe there's some places where you've been led by somebody who just made the environment incredible, and it was a joy to work there. I had that a few years ago before COVID struck and I got laid off. I was working in leadership development kind of a program with a guy named John Silva, and he does have a leadership consulting business now. But he was my supervisor, my boss, and we had a really, really good relationship. He understood my personal need structure because he'd worked with me before, and he knew about the 5 basic needs and which one was most significant for me, which is freedom. And we worked really well together. I was able to create so much in that, and then COVID struck and took it all away. But I had a taste of it, of what it is like when a real leader who understands these concepts, what they create for their workers, for the people, for their team. So the first thing that leaders need to do is to model the desired behaviors. It's not, do as I say, not as I do. That's not a good leadership style. And so by demonstrating your own accountability, emotional regulation, professionalism, leaders set a standard for others to emulate. And a lot of times it takes a while for people to take on that persona, but the better the leader is at it, and I think there's a degree of humility in all this that is expressed when you realize that in any given situation, you could be the worker and the other person could be the leader. So you treat people with that kind of respect, understanding that. But employees are more likely to adopt the behaviors of the leader when they see them consistently modeled. So, and that creates trust. And a lot of times that speeds things up. If you read the book, I can't remember who wrote it. Covey wrote about the speed of trust. It's not the older Covey, Stephen Jr., basically, but the speed of trust and how, if people feel like they can trust their leader, how much more quickly things go in the workplace. And because one thing, it casts out fear, which is a W. Edwards Deming concept, which is a scriptural concept too. I think that the leader casts out fear in a relationship. So number 1 is model the desired behaviors. Number 2 is to focus on influence, not control. Now, sometimes it may seem that this takes longer to accomplish this, but I would say that it's worth the upfront effort and investment of time, because if you make this happen, a lot of things change quickly after that. You build this basis, and then you go forward. You go forward with what you want to accomplish, but it's almost intuitive after people really understand who you are, and they understand that you really care. And Dr. Glasser talked about in counseling, creating a warm, caring environment. And I think that's what the leader does too, is to create a warm, caring environment. Doesn't mean you settle for second best from people, but you can bring that out of them because of what you demonstrate in the relationship. So if you keep that in mind, that you're modeling those behaviors, then you focus on influence, not control. Because remember, that first axiom is the only person whose behavior we can control is our own. So, if the only behavior I can control is my own, it's very important not to spend time trying to control other people, because that just frustrates both of us. But instead of micromanaging or enforcing compliance, leaders can inspire and motivate through collaboration and shared goals. Finding what is this shared goal? What does this person really want at work? And what is it that I want at work as a leader? What does the organization want? How do we bring those all three together? And it is possible. And when that happens, there's a synergy, an increased sense of anticipation and enthusiasm that occurs in the workplace, where people just don't want to leave. They don't want to leave that team because of how involved they feel and how important they feel as the leader, because you've spent time focusing on influencing them, not controlling. But when they feel autonomy and respect, they're more likely to engage and perform at higher levels. Ideas come out from people who actually do the work, which is where the best things happen. One of the things we talked about in Lean Six Sigma, which is a manufacturing and business term, was that how important all this is to the ultimate quality that comes out. And one of the tools we used is called standard work. So that when you find a method that works in producing what you want with the least expense, then that's what you focus on. That's what you teach people, the standard work process. Step by step, here's what we do. You take pictures, show people pictures of what it looks like at each step of the way. And the people on the line who are actually doing the work, whether it's sales or in the case where I was working with the state, people that are meeting people's needs for child welfare, whatever it might be, those are the people that are the experts in how things work. So they bring up ideas about how to improve it. If the leader responds well and treats them with respect, even if it's a not too smart idea, but they're treated with respect, it makes a big, big difference. So keeping in mind that that's how we move forward in that. But one of the ladies that was in one of my classes once said, when standard work is created by people who don't actually do the work, it causes more problems than it solves. Now, you may have been in a situation like that where you were working, face to face with the public, or you were actually putting the widget together, and then somebody from somewhere far away comes down and says, no, do it this way, and it's not going to work. That's frustrating. You feel like you're supposedly just a cog in the wheel, and that's not a good feeling. If we treat people like people, and from a grace perspective, we treat them as created beings that are loved and cared for just as much as we are, it makes a big difference. But we want to influence them, to join us, to come on the team, be a part of this. One of the things I tell leaders is when you have a new person, the way you can understand if this is working or not is when that new person starts to say we instead of you. Like, for example, saying, well, this is the way we've been doing it for a week, or we're a good team, whatever they might say. Listen for words like that that tells you the person has really bought into being a part of the team. If they're still saying, well, you guys don't do it this way, or they talk about their past job, they're not on the team yet. So the leader has to continue working on that influence. All right, so model desired behaviors, focus on influence, not control. And the third one is to cultivate a positive workplace culture. If there are negative things coming into the workplace, the leader absorbs those, doesn't pass them on. And, praise goes down, complaints go up. That's a military thing, but I think it's true in the workplace as well. But leaders can create that supportive, empowering environment by focusing on their reactions to challenges and how they work on solutions, how they're always looking at solutions and not the problem. Thinking about the lean concept that problems are treasures. There are opportunities to improve our system when a problem comes up. And we don't look for blame of a person when there's a problem. We don't ask why. We start to ask what it is, what, where, when, that kind of thing. We save the who till later, till we establish what is the problem. And so this way you're fostering more of that trust and teamwork among employees. And a lot of times when the leader kind of gives up that manipulating control, they gain more control because they've gained more respect from people. And so model desired behaviors, focus on influence, cultivate a positive work culture. And fourth is to enhance communication. And so a leader is going to take responsibility for how they communicate, and every once in a while check with the team and ask how it's working. Your words need to be like clear and constructive, thinking about how this affects the other person when you say it and the way you say it. Tone's very important. And that way misunderstandings kind of go away because people can ask questions and they're not afraid. Remember, we just talked about casting out fear. For a leader to do that, they look for different ways to communicate and ask people how it's working. All right, so number 5 is to encourage personal accountability. First of all, by demonstrating it and asking people, how am I doing? Without exception, everybody's got the opportunity to express their thoughts, their opinions, and we don't discard them because we disagree. One of the leaders that I worked with once in Yuma, Arizona, we've talked about this before, but there are 7 caring habits that Dr. Glasser identified. Supporting, encouraging, listening, accepting, trusting, respecting, and negotiating differences. And one of the leaders really took this to heart, and so he created a whiteboard. They had a whiteboard already, but he created this chart on the whiteboard outside of his office where you couldn't watch people going to that board. But he put those 7 characteristics in a list on the left side of the board. He created a grid with Monday through Friday and then a place for notes. So his team could stop by and they could check mark if they saw that characteristic coming out from him in the workplace. And so every week he'd check to see how he was doing with his team and demonstrating these things. So, to me, that was that personal accountability he demonstrated, and other people are going to take that on themselves if they see the leader doing this, and they can, if you fail at something, that's an opportunity to improve. People won't stop growing, and that's what number 6 is, to focus on personal growth. The leaders have to be continual learners, and that they are always developing their own skills, self-awareness, and if I do something negative or offensive to one person one-on-one, I apologize to them one-on-one. If I embarrass them in front of the group, I'm going to apologize to the whole group. So that ratio, I think, is really important. But we focus on continual development and growth for the people, and people see that I will sacrifice my own good for their benefit so that they can be more successful. Now, some of the things we've talked about with the questioning process, what I used at WDEP, what do you want, what are you doing, evaluate, plan. As a leader uses that with employees, you're helping them to do self-evaluation, self-correction, and they can see their own growth because just the questions you ask. Rather than making statements or giving advice that's unasked for. I don't know if that's a way to say that, but that's one of the things I think that is most important. And then number 7 is to respond rather than react. And in my classes, in leadership classes, I ask people, what's the difference between responding and reacting? And most of the time the answer comes out that response includes thinking ahead of what they're, it's not just an emotional reaction, that's like a clap of thunder makes us all jump, or somebody at the back of the room drops a glass and breaks it. That's a reaction. But when it's interpersonal, the leader, by studying choice theory and reality therapy concepts, can prepare themselves for not overreacting in situations where a positive response would be more appropriate, so that they're calm, they're fair, there's a stable and productive environment, and you're not running around at Mach 3 with your hair on fire all the time. And so a lot of times, if a team is underperforming, the leader, rather than blaming, can look at how's my leadership approach? Do we have a good standard work process so people can be successful? That's my goal, is to make my people successful. And so that we can have an open, non-judgmental conversation to understand their perspective. And a lot of times it's going to, if you just look at the emotional side, it's going to feel bad or feel condemning. But you're the leader. So you're supposed to be able to take the heat and move on. And so you adjust your strategies, maybe offering more training, mentoring individuals. Maybe they're in the wrong seat on the bus, that kind of thing. You want to empower employees to improve. Now, one thing to consider is that most people that have been working for a while haven't had leaders like this, so it's going to take a while for them to adjust, because you're going to seem really strange for a while. So it takes a lot of work up front, but it will pay greater dividends in the end than you ever imagined. So if you focus on your own behaviors and responses rather than trying to change or control others, you can build better relationships by taking responsibility for your own actions and practicing self-awareness and responding constructively to challenges. Now, my wife and I have been experiencing this for many years, in our relationship together. So there are many times when she or I will, probably more me, but will come and realize that there was something we approached in a way that was controlling. We apologize for that, and we try to move forward from that. So these tools can come in handy. So that's the first axiom that we talk about, is that the only person whose behavior we can control is our own. So we try to be positive influences rather than that controlling tyrant or whatever. And so to me, very helpful in parenting too, and in any kind of relationship where we're not trying to control the other people. Coming up on Thanksgiving, that might be a good thing to think about. Now, I wanted to tell you a little bit here at the end is the Glasser Institute for Choice Theory, of which I'm the executive director, which is pretty part-time, but we teach these concepts to teachers and counselors and business people through training all the time. We have a conference coming up in July, in Los Angeles at Loyola Marymount University and Embassy Suites, LAX South, where a lot of people get together, even from all over the world, because we're doing it virtually as well, to discuss and learn about how these things are applied in many different areas, like different counselors in schools and colleges, individual counseling, can work with adults or children, and schools of all ages, and different businesses that operate based on these principles. Everybody's going to meet there. So it would be Dr. Glasser's 100th birthday. He's not with us anymore in person, but we're continuing his legacy in what we teach. We want that spirit that he taught us to be evident in all we do. So stay tuned. You can go to wglasser.com that's our website, to see more about this, how you can get training and learn about this. Especially if you're in counseling or pastoral counseling, we're developing more of a target on that, a pathway through counseling for pastors using these concepts. And pretty powerful. A couple of guys have been using it. It's had awesome results. So just had to tell you that. But check us out and see, what can we help you with? What might help? So think about, how is your leadership? You lead somebody. Somebody looks to you for love and experience, direction, knowledge, and thinking about, are you trying to control other people? Or are you just working on the stuff you can really control and how you can influence other people for good? That, to me, is the best part of what we do. And I hope that these sessions we go through together are meaningful to you as well, because there's nothing more important than that to me. So think about these things. Look at the relationships around you, the ones you want to build and improve, and let's go forward. And we'll go through the other 9 now axioms as we go through this. I know Don Keithley doesn't want to call it a series, but this one kind of is. So thank you very much. Love you guys. I'm glad you're here, and look forward to meeting you in person someday. That would be wonderful. You might enjoy it too. You never know. So thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you so much for joining us. If you would like more information about Brian's coaching and training, please visit brianpattersonleadership.com or connectandleadllc.com. For more information about the concepts of Dr. William Glasser, please visit wglasser.com. You can also email Brian at brian@brianpattersonleadership.com. Have a wonderful day improving all your significant relationships.